Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Smoking on That Gas podcast. I'm your host, John Gus. Today I have an extremely wonderful individual. This is my friend, Andrea LaRosa. She is a dating coach. I find her world fascinating. I'm so excited that she's here to join me. Fellas, this is why she's here. We need help. So I want to just dive right in, Andrea. Like, how do you get into this?
I didn't mean to.
Okay.
Actually, I was a film producer.
Right.
And moving back from living in England and doing production there, and landed myself in San Luis Obispo and wanted to shift. So I got into documentaries and realized like I wanted to help people. I wanted to do something better with my time than film industry.
Yeah.
But I went to a speed dating event. It was a hot mess.
Okay.
The local bar that was hosting it didn't really know what they were doing. So I friendly reached out to them and just said, hey, you want to do another one? But like maybe get it organized a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, as a producer, hosting an event, a film is like a big event.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right.
And I helped them and it went spectacular. I think we had 150 people show up to it.
How long ago is this?
5 or 6 years ago now.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I realized, hey, speed dating events. Who knew? That's fun.
Yeah, right.
So while I was transitioning, I thought, I'm going to start hosting some speed dating events, make a little extra cash on the side, and figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And it turned out to be amazing. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And I got certified in relationship coaching and life coaching and NLP and just kept going and kept going. And 5 or 6 years, I don't even know how many years now later, here I am. I'm a dating coach. I'm a matchmaker. And I'm helping men find love.
Which I'm glad that you said specific to men. Part of the motivation for me doing all of this is to like byproduct promote men's. I think there's a good amount of light being shown on men's mental health. Like I think that's now in the awareness, the stigma is going away, but the emotional health is like so key. And there's a difference. And so I think that what you're doing to support that is and like, let's be honest, like we're guys, like we need some help, you know? So I'm glad you're here to help us.
Women do too.
That's true. But I think with guys, it's just like, we can plot our way through, and we were discussing a little bit before this show of like what might have worked in the past might not be working now. So
Right. And everyone thinks that women have like dating dialed in and men don't.
That's not true.
And it's absolutely not true.
Because that's what it feels like sometimes.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. No. Yeah, especially like going on like a first date and it's just like, I got to do all the things and I got blah, 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 blah. And you like so in your head and then you just womp womp.
You know what it is that women are sought after more than men are. So while...
Okay, makes sense.
Right. Think of a dating app, okay?
Which one? Let's paint a picture.
Okay. We'll go to Bumble because it's, middle of the road. Most people who are using it are looking for an actual relationship versus a hookup for the most part.
Okay. I would say that's fair. Yeah.
So you go on Bumble as a man and you start swiping. First of all, your swiping behavior is all wrong. So let's fix that.
Let's get to that. Yeah, like we'll get back. Okay.
But you're swiping on women that you're seeing and you're swiping on, say, just 10. Right. On all 10. That woman, that one woman that you end up matching with, she's had 10 men swipe on her while you might have only gotten one match from those 10 women you swiped on. So while, yes, there's more women out there, women are very choosy on who they swipe on versus men. No offense, guys, but you tend to sit down in front of an app and go, she looks decent. Yes. She looks decent. Yes. I'd do her. Yes.
What could you possibly mean?
I don't know.
We do that? No way.
It's just a guess.
Because you'd be right. Like one of my friends was like, did you even look at that profile? And my attitude, like in the beginning, like, yes, like awesome. But then like the more that you do it, like you just kind of like your nerve endings burn. And then it's just like, I'll do more like if we actually do match. It's like, I'm busy. Like, blah, blah, blah. It's like typical guy thing, right?
Just like how you reach out on apps. I think when you first get on the app, you reach out with enthusiasm. You look at the profile, you comment on the profile, but then she doesn't respond to you. And then the next one doesn't respond to you. And then the third one responds, but then she ghosts you. And then the next one starts a conversation for 2 weeks.
Okay. I'm so glad that you brought this up because there's a couple of things I'd like to touch on. Number one, when I first got on the apps, my fantasy was, I'm going to meet my person. My fantasy now is, I got to get off this shit. Not because I met somebody, because I don't want to be here anymore. So I appreciate that you've mentioned that. And then the other thing too is I think it's funny. Like my friends and I call it the 1 week fizzle. We connected. It's going well.
Bye.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, like, in our previous conversations that I really like about what you know about this world is it definitely helped me learning, like, some of just the math behind it. Tinder, I think you said at one point, is like 70% just like fake and bots, you know? So just even like you framing it this way of like, you're describing like a very like real experience of like, yeah, I'm enthusiastic, but like that's waning. I'm losing that. Like, and it's knowing that would help alleviate, because as guys, it's like we internalize what's wrong with me.
Right. But you also go in with different expectations than women go into it.
Okay,
right?
Say more about that. Yeah, I'd like to hear your perspective.
So not that I need to tell you guys how you were raised or how society has raised you guys, but thinking of it in terms of you are raised from a young age to believe that you're the provider.
Sure.
So your goal in life is to maybe go to school, get an education, get a really good job or career, or maybe not go to school, but you still go that route of, I need to have a good job at least. I need to be able to provide for my family. I may be 15, but I'm thinking that because
traditional values.
That's, yes. So you're going into a dating app thinking I need to be the provider. And now in today's world, you have women going on the same apps thinking, I don't need a provider. I am the provider.
Right.
So now what in the hell do you have in common for the sake of looking at traditional dating?
Right.
Because we look at apps like they're menu options. Yes, please. Yes, please. I'll take a side of that.
Keep going.
Main menu of that.
What are we having for dessert?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's how people treat them.
So what are some of the things that we can look at in terms of like a reframe of knowing that, so that I keep my level of enthusiasm, don't take this personally? What are some feedback options there that you'd offer?
If you are on a dating app, dating burnout is legit.
I'm glad you said that. Say more.
It's for real. So first of all, don't be on more than 2 apps at a time. That's absurd. Because if she's on both the apps, she's seeing you twice. Yeah,
it's not a good look. It's not a good look. Yeah.
Right. And if you're on more than, 3 or more, no.
Matching on all 3 is pretty something. Not that I would know. I mean, I know.
You may live in a big city thinking like she'll never know I'm on all 3.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be surprised on how small that world becomes after a while, especially if you're on it for a while.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you're going on and off, on and off, on and off, because
it's not a good look.
You guys do that, man.
I know.
You get off the app and get back on so that it says new here.
And
changes the algorithm.
Yep. Yeah, we're so smart. Obviously.
Yeah. How's that working?
That's why you're here. That's literally like why you're here. Yeah. And like, it's funny because like we're joking about it, of course, but that's the reality. And it's like, and I think for most guys, I would say like their head and heart is in the right place, but we're just struggling, you know? So it's like being able to have somebody that understands this world and can communicate it to us in a way that's like one of my favorite things about you is the safety that you offer. I think that's great of like, there's nothing like that's off limits that you can't communicate with people in such a way of like, I'm going to talk to my mom about this. I'm going to talk to my sister about this. I'm going to talk to my like female friends about this. Like, there's just certain things that it's like, regardless of how you are close in that female dynamic, it's just not, it doesn't offer the same kind of safety that someone in your position would offer.
They're very biased.
Of course.
So you go to your friend, your female friend or your sister, and you say, how about this one? And she immediately is trained to find the fault. she's not good enough for you, because I want the best for my brother. I want the best for my friend. I want the best for my son, whomever, right? So that woman in your life holds you so high, and it's great that she does.
Rightfully so. Hi, Mom.
But that woman on that dating app is not invested in you yet. She's not there yet. She doesn't have years of experience with you to get to that point. So you go into dating her thinking that she is supposed to have that same level of investment that your mom or sister or best friend has. And she's like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
And you don't think of it that way. And you forget that she's going into a first date thinking, I don't know this man. I need to be aware of my safety.
Totally.
I don't want to spend too much time with him. I don't want to be alone with him. I don't want to be assaulted. I don't want to be murdered.
Right. Yeah, no,
in
it's
some
legitimate.
back alley.
Right.
But men forget that all the time.
Totally.
It's important to remember these things.
Of course. Yeah. And I think that's being mindful of the environment that you create. You know, and I think, tell me your opinion about this, but like, what is it that can lead to, hey, I met somebody in the app, we matched, like, what is an ideal first date that like everybody can be comfortable at to increase your chances of the environment, you know?
So,
because I think in our, like, as guys, like, we're dumb. So it's like, okay, let me lay out.
You're not dumb. You're not dumb.
I know.
You want an experience. You want an adventure. You want to impress.
Right. Yeah. Like, we're going to dinner.
On the first date.
Right.
Like, it's not necessary. It really isn't.
That's great. Like, I'm so glad that you say that, because we feel the pressure of the, like, we need to court and remember, you know.
Court is different than the first date. Courting is flirting and getting to know her and finding out more about her and not talking about yourself the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good feedback.
But your first date needs to be somewhere where any woman can feel safe.
Totally.
So in public.
Yep.
During the day is helpful.
Okay.
So, you know, a Saturday at 11 a.m., you meet for coffee, and it allows you to extend the date out if you want.
Sure.
So she can go home and say, I'm out. Sorry, didn't work. Or you can say, like, this has been really great. Maybe we go grab lunch. Evening dates are fine. I'm not saying don't do them. Grab a drink after work kind of thing. That's fine. But make sure it's something that... Like a dinner date for a first date.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's unnecessary. Yeah. And if you live in the state of California, it can break you. It's expensive.
$100.
Easy.
A pop, yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. 2 drinks, 2 meals, tip, maybe a dessert. Good luck getting out of there for $100.
Yeah.
Which is like great for you all.
But then it kind of makes men a little bitter sometimes.
Yeah, no, and like in my own experience, like there's been a couple of times where I felt there was some misrepresentation going on, and then it's just like that's doesn't feel great, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm not going to be a dickhead about this, and I want them to have a nice time. And it's like, that's great, but if that happens like 5 or 6 times in a month, like that's not cheap. Like,
no,
it's adds up.
Right.
Yeah,
that's car payment.
Those are your words. That's what I was thinking. I'm not trying to trivialize anything, but yeah, it's not. Yeah, but like,
and there are women who do that regularly.
I
use men
did
for
not
dinner dates.
Know that until like one of my friends was like, Johnny, like, she's like, before like I was seeing so and so, like, I love going to have a free dinner. Are you kidding me?
Oh, absolutely.
Which is like traditionally guys are the ones that are kind of like scheming. It's like, wait a second, like.
Because you don't know who you have in front of you because you don't actually know her.
Sure.
You don't know if she's the type of person who's going to sit down to dinner and be like, let's get a bottle of wine and I'll take the lobster. And at that point, you're like, I don't want to pick up this bill. But do you feel obligated to pick it up? Or at that point, do you say like, hey, let's split it?
I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Whether or not it's okay to say, hey, let's split the bill. There are a couple different pools of women for that. There's the woman who wants the traditional man, not because she wants you to pick up the bill money-wise. I mean, there are those, obviously. I'm talking about like the high-value women, the women that you're going after. There's the
Ooh,
ones
I like that you used that phrase. Okay.
just want you to make that effort and not shy away from traditional courting, traditional flirting, right? So, yes, there's a very real chance that you're going to have a woman in front of you who can take care of herself. She can pay for her own meal.
Right.
But, and it's not about the money for her. It's about the effort that you're putting in, which is why going for drinks or coffee or maybe even lunch for a first date is a better idea, because you don't know who you have in front of you.
Sure.
What happens if 15 minutes into that dinner date, you find out she's a nightmare?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard men here tell me they've been on dates with women who show up to the date drunk and then drink their dinner. That's expensive, for one, and not fun. Dating is supposed to be fun.
I'm glad you said that. I agree. Because I think that that's like, in my relational experience, like I want like all of the parts to matter. Like I want the beginning and like the like getting to know each other, and like we go like miniature golfing. Like it's like, you know, you have that thing, but like we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Okay, so tell me what you think about this gesture.
Okay.
It's time the bill comes. I'm happy to pick it up. I just want to see a little bit of a... No,
effort?
I got it. Yeah. That's right. Right? Like, of course I'm going to take care of the bill, but like just knowing... Because it's like... I like going back to like what you said of like, it's different now. Like we're not looking to caretake. We're looking for partnership.
Right. So yes, absolutely. Women need to make the effort and reach for the wallet, reach for the bill, something, or offer like, hey, do you want to split it?
Yeah. Because I think that's the thing, like it just, and I think this is kind of it can be like, even just me trying to talk about it seems like kind of uncomfortable, because it's like, you want to do like the chivalrous thing, but it's also like, you want to feel respected.
Right.
You don't want to, and like, I want to be seen as who I am, not just like.
Let me ask you a question.
Tell me.
What if she insists on splitting it? Because I hear this from a lot of men. They go on dates with women who they don't want the man to think that they're owed anything because they picked up dinner.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not owed a kiss at the end of the night. You're not owed, a second date. You're not owed sex, that's for sure.
Right.
But and there's a lot of women out there that have experienced that in their dating lives, and therefore want that bill to be split down the middle. They want to pay for their own meal or whatever it is, because in their experience, they feel that men think they're owed something afterwards. Well, I paid for dinner. Why don't I get a kiss at the end of the night?
Yeah. My personal answer to that is, if like they're absolutely insistent, like of course, but my attitude is always like I appreciate that you feel that way. Like, why don't we do this? Like, I'll take care of this one. If we feel like we should get together again, like it could be your treat. Does that sound good? Like, I like that. I like that path. That feels good to me.
That sounds nice. I like that.
Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, because again, like, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but I think it's like being in that place of intention. Like, what is the intention?
Right.
Like, okay, like, are you just dating to like casually date a couple people at the same time, or are you like dating because like I'm looking for like my twin flame, my other half, like the partnership piece? So like I think beginnings are important. So like, yeah, I feel good about, because I want my partner to feel like, an equal partner. So it's like, yeah, like, and then then the environment shift is like, that'd be so cool. Like, yeah, like I planned this date, and it would be nice to like experience that side of the token of like, I get to just show up and just be in your world kind of a thing.
It's funny how many men will pull a line like, I asked you. Like, I asked you out, so I'll pick it up.
I mean, I've used that line.
Nah, don't use that one anymore.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Your reasoning doesn't make sense, for what?
Say more.
Right. If a woman asked you on a date...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you expect her to pick up the bill?
Not necessarily.
Right.
No, yeah.
But yet, more and more men are getting so frustrated with asking women out and it not being the right timing that I hear them saying, you know what, I would love it if a woman would just ask me on a first date. I have no problem picking up the bill, but I'd really appreciate to know when she's ready for me to like make that move. You know, because you're on a dating app and some women are like, let's just get to know each other on the app for a while. Bad move, but I don't coach women, so whatever.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Why do you focus just on men versus doing both?
I think it's unfair that there are books, there are YouTube videos, there are dating coaches galore out there for women. The messaging is aimed at women because for years we've said women do self-growth. Personal development is for women.
Okay.
Which is bullshit. Men want to grow. They want to be better, but they can't be better if there's no material for them to follow.
Interesting. That's a good observation. Yeah,
so
I
want to put out material for them to help them understand how women tick, especially those high-value women that men are really seeking nowadays.
How do you define that?
A high-value woman?
Yeah.
There's a couple different things, but I guess the main thing to really define her is that she has a very high standard, not expectation, a high standard of herself. So she is ambitious. She is probably an alpha female, to be fair, but she knows how to balance life with work, right? She might be the CEO of a company or a president of a company or has her own business, entrepreneur, whatever it is. She doesn't define herself by her work, but she wants to strive for more. She wants a partnership and not just a relationship.
Right.
All these different elements. You know, she takes care of herself. She presents herself well. She's well-spoken. She's pretty social. She's not needy. She's not whiny. She's really sure of herself. That's pretty much a high-value woman. And so many times men are like, oh, my God, I want that. I want a woman who's independent, who's strong.
Yeah.
But then when he gets her, he's like, oh, shit, what do I do with this? Where do I fit into this? Because she's not the norm.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment of understanding the different shift and like what that could look like. And I like how you touched on relationship versus partnership. Can you say more about that?
You know, I know they're just words, but when you say the word partnership, you and your partner, it feels like equality, right? It means I'm putting in just as much effort into the relationship as you are. And I don't mean it's a 50-50 because that's just absurd.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. But it's, you know, in one area of our relationship, maybe I put in 90%, but in another area of the relationship, you put in 90% sometimes.
Right.
And it will fluctuate. If I'm with somebody who is pursuing his career, then that means I need to be his support system during that time. So some of my needs might need to take a back burner right now because his needs need to be met, because his needs are my needs. That's a partnership. We work together as a team to make our life whole and wonderful and beautiful, and we grow together and we, you know, move forward in life together. And then at some point, it'll probably shift. And he'll focus his attention more on my needs. And we'll go that direction for a little bit. So it's just this kind of like beautiful little back and forth that happens in a partnership.
Yeah, it's a collective experience, not like a blatant like push and pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't want to demean anybody with using the term high value, low value kind of a thing. So can we just circle back onto that a little bit?
Absolutely, because I do get that a lot.
I definitely want this to be like a place of respect and not try to diminish anybody. So the way that I interpret that is I think that, you know, getting on the app, for me, it's like, who's here for the right reason? Because sometimes it's like, I think some people get on there because they just want to be validated in a certain way, or I'm upset, so I want attention. And I think that's probably what we're talking about with like a low value experience versus like a person. Is that a more fair way to say it?
You could, for sure. But no.
Okay.
I don't see really what's wrong with saying that someone is of high value if that's how they value themselves.
Okay.
Your self-worth. Do you have self-worth? I'm not saying that someone doesn't mean anything if
right.
you're not a low value
right.
person if you're not high value. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but it's, somebody who is high value, even men who are high value, they value their own inner worth. They have self-respect.
How much of that inner worth is connected to actually doing what we call like the work?
Oh, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
That I think that's the dot that I was like trying to connect of the person that is like living their way in an intentional way, because I think in an ideal relationship, it's two healthy people.
Yeah.
That are like happily independent, but like collectively, it's just like a force of nature kind of a thing.
Right. And understanding you both are going to go through really rough times because you're human.
Right.
And that's what happens. And to understand when your partner is in a downward spiral, you don't wash your hands of it and step back and be like, oh, I don't know what to do with you. That's when you actually step up and say, I don't know what to do. What can we do to help you? It's not what can I do to help you. It's what can we do collectively.
Yeah, I think that's something. So let me ask you this. At what point is that discovered in the dating process? Because, in the beginning it's fun in games, and then at some point like reality sets in, and I would think that most of the time, like the first couple of experience, like we're just trying to put our best foot forward. But like at some point, like your humanness is going to show up, and like, am I signing up for all of this? Like, when is like an appropriate time for some of that to start like showing up in a way that's healthy and not just like, oh, here's all my stuff, like take it or leave it, because I think that's like a badge of honor that some people wear as well. Well, I'm too, you can't handle me,
Statistically speaking, within 3 to 5 months is when most breakups happen.
Okay.
Why is that, you ask? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you.
Let me ask, why is that?
It's because at that point is when you become comfortable enough to show your authentic self.
Okay.
It's terrible timing. You should be showing your authentic self in the beginning. And there is a way to do it to ease someone into it. If you've got a lot of baggage, for example, say you have a kid, right? You're a single dad. And
not that kids are baggage.
No. But a lot of women see it that way.
Okay.
A lot of men do too, unfortunately. But not all baggage is bad, right? I don't know. Women like their baggage.
Well, that's the thing that's the part that I come to is like I was talking to a friend recently, and they were highlighting the parts of themselves that they weren't that wild about. And I was trying to help with a reframe of like, you have to understand, like, there's somebody that loves that. So like, let's focus our attitude and attention on the like, this thing that you have that you're like, I can't possibly imagine somebody would love this. It's like, no, there is like a person that has been looking exactly for that. So
even if they're not looking for that specifically, that element of you, that history, whatever that is, that's part of who you are. That's what makes you the wonderful human that you are today.
Yes, right.
You've learned so much from whatever that is, whatever that experience is. If it's, I have a child, but I don't tell her that I have a child.
That to me is more of like we're hiding something.
Right. And it's not authentic.
Right.
And, a lot of times single parents don't want whomever they're dating to meet their kid too soon.
Which I think is fair.
But it's kind of opposite, actually.
But what about the relational dynamic of an ex in the picture out of like, I don't want too many new people coming into my kid's life. Is there a certain boundary that should go around that?
Why not?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
No, but why wouldn't you want new people coming into your kid's life?
I think depending on the kid's age, an understanding of what that person could be.
Let's say the kid's 8 years old.
I think that's different. I'm talking, I think age is a factor for sure.
Okay.
Because I think the certain level of understanding is different.
But an 8-year-old, do you think an 8-year-old truly understands daddy's friends? Girlfriend, friends?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's what I'm asking you.
I think it's important that if you're going to be invested in someone, if you get to that 3 to 5 month mark with someone, you're probably going to invest long term.
Okay. That's what I'm curious about is like, when does this go from like fun and games to like, we're doing some life together?
And I hate using milestones like that because 3 to 5 months for one person is not the same relationship that 3 to 5 months is for someone else.
Sure. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Because some relationships, people hit it hot and heavy, right off the bat. And they are spending so much time together and they're talking every day. And it's like, whoa, like this just grew out of nothing. Where there's other relationships where I want to take it slow. I only see you once a week. We maybe exchange texts a couple times during the week. That's a little slower pace. So your 3-month mark, you've had maybe a handful of dates versus someone else's 3-month mark where maybe they've seen each other every single day now.
Okay. So now with that, I think we can start to get into some of the attachment styles and how does attachment style affect pacing? Because if you are a different attachment style, the slower pace could be perfectly natural and healthy, but because of your certain attachment style, it could not feel that way. Is that
100%?
Fair? Yeah.
Absolutely. That 3-month mark where it's like, we've seen each other every single day. Anxious much?
Right.
More than likely, unless you have 2 secure people. So, I mean, for your listeners, attachment styles might be really helpful if they understood what they are.
Let's talk about them.
So, avoidant.
Which is?
The person who gets to 3 months and they've seen each other a handful of times. You always keeping them at arm's length.
Intimacy is scary for them.
Yes.
Emotional intimacy.
Yes. They want to always kind of have one foot out the door. It's fearful.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they can't change.
Of course.
And then you have your anxious attachment style. That's the complete opposite.
And they love each other.
They do, man. That little merry-go-round of like
push and pull.
Yeah. That's crazy. Aish. So yeah, your anxious attachment style is the stalker. The person who is always accusing you of things.
At the extreme, of course.
At the extreme, yes.
Yeah.
And they may not be accusing you, but in their head, they're thinking it. They might not be sharing it, though.
Yeah.
But they are wondering, like, he's not texting me. Where is he? What's he doing?
Any shift in the relationship, they feel stronger than a different type of style. Yeah.
And then you have, you're secure, which is luckily the majority.
Yeah.
But a secure attachment style is somebody who feels really grounded in who they are when they get into a relationship. And so, yes, if you're anxious or avoidant, you want to be in a relationship with a secure attachment style. Can you imagine 2 avoidants together?
They wouldn't be together.
No,
yeah.
It doesn't really work.
So I want to touch on this a little bit more because I think that there's a tremendous amount of people that are unaware of that. And I think for me, before I became aware of it, it was a lot of internalizing what's wrong with me when it was like, oh, this person, before I was, more educated on the attachment styles, it was like, oh, this is what they do. Pushing away is just what they do. It has nothing to do with me. And sometimes like, this is, and I think I want to also get to like levels of ghosting because I think this like rolls into that is I think sometimes like too much closeness. It's like they say they want it, but then it's like that part comes out where it's like, well, if you really saw this about me, you wouldn't like me. So you got to go. I got to push you away first.
I don't even think it's that conscious.
Interesting.
I think it's very subconscious. I think it's so rooted in their behavior when it comes to dating that they don't even know why they do it anymore. Which is why therapy and coaching is so vital.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a certain amount because it's not just like no one's like 100% secure, 100% like
No,
it
never.
can, yeah, it vacillates. And like, there's definitely, I would say I'm probably more of a secure attachment, but like avoidance can like make me anxious. And like people with unchecked anxious attachments, definitely like, sometimes it's like a little bit more than I can handle. And that makes me like, you know, shut down a little.
Yeah.
But I've been accused of all three. So what do people know, you know?
Have you taken the test?
Of course I've taken the test. I read the book. Yeah.
All right, just checking.
Yeah. I had one person be like, we're going to take the test right now. I will prove that you're not this thing. I'm like, this is pretty much all I need to know about where this is going.
They wanted to prove that you weren't secure?
Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
What would you say is that, Coach? What kind of flag is that? What kind of flag is that? What color flag is that? Is that about as red as it gets?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
How do we handle red flags?
It depends on what the red flag is.
Is a red flag showing up? Is that a hard no, I should leave? Or can you navigate that?
You can navigate it.
Okay.
Because
How?
First of all, you have to be able to first define what that red flag is.
Fair.
I can't tell you how many times I hear women especially, that's a red flag, that's a red flag, that's a red flag. And I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a red what? I mean, he's too short, that's a red flag. That is not a flag. That's not even in the category.
The fact that you feel that way is a red flag, you know?
Right. Or, you know, they look at a profile. In fact, I just had a client today do this where she was looking at a profile and the guy was trying to be funny in his bio. It wasn't landing. But, you know, he tried. But he looked like a nice person. And she was like, that's a red flag. I'm like, where? I don't see the red flag. Where is that red flag? And she's like, well, he's trying to be funny. It's just not landing. I'm like, that's not a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've heard stories of that where like I was working with one of my friends, we're talking about it, and he, the woman had in her profile something along the lines that she like loved doing like ultra marathons or something like that. And he made the stupid joke of like, oh, like that's so cool that you do that. And she's like, what are some of the like extreme things that you do? And he made some like joke of like drinking like 6 cups of coffee in a day, like taking 3 naps in a day, just like totally like playful opposite direction. And she's like, that tells me that you're low confidence and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like a miscommunication of sense of humor where it's like, it's
right.
not like in person, like you got the joke right away, but like over an app, I could see it. But then it just comes back to the, like, someone here is maybe needs to like soften. I don't want to accuse anybody like you need to do more work. I'm not a therapist. Maybe I am, but I'm not, you know.
Well, it's different personalities.
Yeah, totally.
She's very serious.
Yeah.
And she needs a serious person.
Yeah.
And he's playful and jokes a lot. So he needs somebody who appreciates that.
Yeah,
that's
and I think and I think that I'm glad that you said that, because I think if and that's basically what I had to do, is like calm him down of like, dude, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just like wouldn't you like to know that this is a not fit like right now before trying to force this and then, you know, try to change somebody? Because I think that as on both sides, like we think that like, oh, I can just like massage this piece over here and they'll change for me, and then it's just like why would you not want to be in something where like acceptance is a part of the relationship?
Change is inevitable when it comes to a relationship. You have to change in order for that relationship to work. It's like putting 2 pieces of a puzzle together that aren't molding right. So you both have to kind of adjust a little bit for it to work. That's any relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a boss and an employee. You have 2 different personalities. You have to shift a little bit. You have to give a little bit. If you're not willing to give at all, then don't get into a relationship.
Yeah.
You're not ready for one.
Sure.
But somebody who comes in and wants to mold you into what she thinks is her ideal partner, no.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
So there's extremes to the whole thing.
Sure.
And everything can be taken out of proportion. But showing up in your authentic self, and your authentic self is not sarcasm.
Okay.
Your authentic self is your true, genuine self. It's who you are when you are confident and you're calm.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Showing up as that person, I guarantee you, you will get any date ever that you want. Is it easy? No. I didn't say it was easy, but if you can show up to a first date really, really rooted in who you are and know what your values are and just hold to those, your dates will go beautifully.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because I mean, I don't know if you know about this, me. I'm kind of a lot, you know? You may not know that. You do know that. And like,
I don't know that.
there's like the people that will say like, you're too much. And like, I used to take that so personally in the past where I'm just kind of like, that is like such a big favor that someone can do for me now.
Right.
Cause it's like, I might be for you and that's cool. And I'd rather find that out like now than the person that's like, no, like I like all this overboard stuff that they might have thought of. Like, I love that about you. And whatever that looks like for people, I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that like embracing the like, I think it's so interesting because like when in a new relational dynamic, we're conditioned to put our best foot forward. But I think the endearing things and the closest bonds are actually like the rough edges. Like, tell me that like the things that like,
right.
that we bond over that are like, yeah, like.
Don't put your best foot forward. Put your most authentic foot forward.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Because no one wants to be in.
Because what is your best?
Yeah.
What you think is your best is actually your truest form, your most authentic self.
Yeah.
You being genuine. If you are sitting at a date, on a date with someone and, you know, something goes amiss and you realize, ooh, we are not aligned or whatever. Maybe you're very Christian and she doesn't believe in God.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, shit. Forgot to check that point first before the date.
Right.
But you know what? We're here. Let's make the most of it.
Totally.
And she realizes that you're not aligned and it's just misfiring left and right. What do you do in that moment? What do you do with that information? Do you take it personally or do you simply just say like, that sucks. This didn't work out, but best of luck.
Yeah, I think that that's so great. I think that serves so in so many different scenarios of the not taking it personally because I think that like, you know, you're having a conversation, you do the number exchange and then it's just like radio silence. And I think it's so easy to internalize like, what did I do? When it could be like her grandma could have died. It could have been a number of things, you know, like.
Yeah. Why'd she lose interest all of a sudden?
Yeah. What's wrong with me? That's how I think. And I think that it's normal to feel that way and recognizing and understanding that it is normal to feel that way helps with the like not taking it so personally.
Right. And that's where ghosting kind of comes into play.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
That's a huge topic lately.
I think, and rightfully so, because I think it's such a challenging part to navigate, especially when you're trying to build that safety. You are vulnerable, you know, and you're trying to be your authentic self. And it's just like, did I do something wrong here?
Right.
You know, especially for those of us that are overthinkers like myself. And I think a lot of people are that way. So
Absolutely.
let's role play. I'm your client.
Okay.
I just got ghosted. Andrea, I just got ghosted. Where do we go from here?
How many dates have you been on?
2.5.
I'm sorry, 2.5?
Yeah, it was like we kind of met at a bar the first date.
What are you, a millennial? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I am.
Kidding. 2.5 dates.
2.5 dates. Met at a bar, exchanged numbers. We met for coffee. It went great. We're texting, you know, trying to build that best friend thing. We met again. It went great. And then I haven't heard from her in 3 days.
Okay. 3 days?
Yeah.
Okay. She could just be busy.
No. She's my best friend. We're getting married.
Yeah. I know a really good therapist I think I should hook you up with. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I mean, here's what I love about what you offer is like, again, if we took that to our network, our tribe, whatever you want to call it, it's bias.
Right, of
where
course.
like you can help them get to a grounded place and asking those questions.
Right.
And like it improves, like if I'm just like 3 days and I'm freaking out about it, you're gonna be like, no, it's totally normal. Like you can normalize something, get me out of my head, get me out of my like space of freaking out.
Right. So let's do that. Let's go there. Let's say, you know, same scenario and it's not 3 days, it's been a week.
Okay.
And you've reached out to her a couple of times to see if you can reconnect and she's still ignoring you. Now what?
Yeah, that's where I would be up in my head about it of like, you know, I reached out once. I don't want to become off needy. I don't want to push. I'm not hearing anything back. What do I do now?
Right, because natural reaction is to start playing the dating game.
Yeah.
And now this is the point where everyone goes onto YouTube or TikTok or Instagram Reels looking for the information, looking for the answer. What do? I'm getting ghosted.
And you establish that that's 90% for women of what's available?
For the most part, but I feel like ghosting is just ghosting.
Okay.
I just did an entire series of videos on ghosting. Something to really understand. The big takeaway, there's multiple reasons why people get ghosted, multiple reasons. But the big takeaway is she is not invested enough in this relationship with you. Whether she's ghosting because she got really busy at work and she's juggling too many things, whether it's because she doesn't know how to tell you she's not actually interested, whether it's because she met someone else, whether it's because, it doesn't matter. The world just blew up because there's a pandemic. It doesn't matter what the reason is. Ultimately, she's saying to you, I'm not invested enough. This is not a priority enough for me. And it sucks because it would be really nice if she just simply did the small favor of sending a text to say, hey, you're really nice. I don't think there's a connection here, but I really wish you the best of luck.
Yeah. Now, if the tables return, is that what you would encourage clients to do if they're not interested?
100%.
Just to give them a heads up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How hard is that?
It's not very.
It takes you 10 seconds because honestly, you kind of can just copy and paste the text. I mean, I send it to them, so you just copy and paste that shit. It's like
I'm saying nothing because like I have like for friends that I've encouraged, like I'm not telling you not to do an FAQ, but have some good ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like present your best self forward. If there's a way to like communicate something effectively, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Eventually,
my client will be able to do it on his own.
Of course.
But in the beginning, yeah, that's what he hired me to do.
Yeah, I think that's with anything. Like, I don't know how to drive. Teach me how to drive.
Right.
I don't know how to do this. And then, yeah, it's empowering the person to... But it's also like having the ripple effect of like, I think the dating scene in general would benefit if people were just like, hey, like, it was great to meet you. I'm not feeling the connection. You know, please don't take this personally. It's just the reality. Mm-hmm. And I think that like one of my friends was really struggling with like this person, like everything on paper should make sense. And he just wasn't there. And he was honest about it. And he was like, I actually like her more because how mature she handled that. Because I think it's so easy to get in our heads of like, I send this text and World War III is going to break out of my like, you know, and but the reality is like, and multiple people I've had this conversation with of like, I've been ghosted and like, and I've ghosted, like I'm not.
I appreciate you being very honest about that.
Yeah, of course. But like the reality is like, I could have handled it better, and being on the opposite end of it, it would have been nice to just be like, I thought I could do this. I can't. Mm-hmm. Instead of just like being up in my head about it. Mm-hmm. What did I do wrong? And then, you know, doing all of this work and then feeling like I got to go back a couple steps because now I'm too much in my head about it.
But I think you brought up a really good point is that on paper, this should be it.
Yeah.
You look at someone and you're like, this is everything I've been looking for, but I'm not feeling it. Yeah. Because the chemistry's not there.
Right.
It's just that simple.
Well, and okay, so that's one of the things I'm curious about is like, what is the obligation of, you know, you go out on a date, you're not feeling it. How much of that needs to get communicated? At what point is a communication expected versus, hey, we went out on one date, we didn't call each other, no big deal.
If you didn't call each other, nobody reached out?
Yeah, like where
that's not really ghosting then.
Well, not necessarily ghosting, but like just like the communication obligation of whether or not we're going to see each other again, if it's unclear.
I encourage my clients to not set a second date on a first date because you're so in the moment.
That's good because I think it's very easy to be like, this was fun, I'll see you again.
Yeah.
And one person can be like, I'm just going to say yes so I can get out of here.
And women love to do that. Oh yeah, this was fun. Let's definitely do this again. because she's thinking, I don't want him to get upset with me. I don't want him to start begging. I don't want him to, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, it's unpredictable. People are unpredictable.
Yeah.
And so, especially if he's just dropped $100 on dinner.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't think it's, I think guys can do that too. Like, I've definitely been in a situation where it's like the most least uncomfortable thing for me was just to like, I just want to get out of here. So, hey, it's good to see you again. We should do this again. And then hope,
No.
you know, you don't get contact again.
No.
Yeah. So
you just don't set it.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's like, these are like the types of things that like knowing is it's valuable. Like that's good information, because also like where I'm at versus where I started is like, I just want to be in reality. Mm-hmm. Like having that type of communication of like, hey, this was great. Like, you know, I'll talk to you soon, or like, hey, like I'll call you tomorrow or something like that. I think that's probably again, more and being in reality. Because I think that, you know, also being aware of the chemicals that go into a new relationship, you get high on the oxytocins, and then you start future tripping, and then that's where the speed can just like, when you're like, yeah, we're just blah, 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 and it's like all the things that you like could see like under the right microscope, you're just too high on the crack phase, you know?
Yeah, you are. But yeah, it's really easy. You leave a first date and you tell her, I had a really great time getting to know you. Please drive carefully.
Perfect.
Done.
What about, so great to know you. Can you text me and let you know you got home safe?
Sure.
Cool. I think that's.
Women do appreciate the text from guys, like, you know, depends on how far you're driving or whatever, but like that 30 minutes to an hour afterwards that even says, hey, I really had a great time with you tonight. Thanks again.
I think it feels good both ways. Like, because again, to like avoid the game.
Right.
Like, and here's, and tell me what you think about this. My attitude is always like, to avoid the game, don't play the game. So like in when I get in my head about what I should do, I default to like what I feel like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not playing games here. But I think it can be like you start playing the game of like, I don't know if you've ever done this. I've done this. It's like, how long ago did they text me? 5 minutes? I'm writing back in 6. The next one was 17. This one's 21. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is a person I'm trying to be in a relationship. Like, what like stupid game am I playing in my head? Like, what precedent am I starting for my own?
You're trying to get the upper hand.
Well, I think, because it's just like it's. I think we've been hit with so many messages of like, be vulnerable, don't be needy, and so it's like. That's like, she saw me cry, like I was being vulnerable. And then like someone was like, you cried way too soon. It's like, I'm like losing my mind here of like, they're trying to, but that's like, it's not authentic. Coming back to the authentic
place. If you cried
place.
on a first date and that authentically, maybe you started having a conversation. It's happened to me before. I think it was a second date actually. And he was talking about his grandmother and he started to cry and it was appropriate. And I didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. I was just kind of like, shell-shocked because here's this man who I thought was like this very masculine, strong presence who's now crying on our date, and he's probably feeling not just vulnerable but slightly embarrassed because here he is trying to put his best foot forward and make a good impression, and he had like this whole date planned out. It was like this whole beach thing, then we get wine, and then we do a hot tub thing. It was like just this whole production, and he kind of threw a wrench in it when the tears started coming because we were trying to get to know each other, and he was talking about his family, and it struck a nerve. And so what you do with that is important in that moment, you know, to be okay with, you know what, you're being very vulnerable with this person. If she can comfort you and not be creeped out by it, you know, it took me by surprise for sure. But, you know, I did my best to try and, you know, be supportive and share as well. And say like, you know, I've been there. I've gone through a loss like that too. I totally know what you're feeling. Like, you know, do you want a tissue?
Yeah.
When you can be vulnerable and the other person is accepting of that,
I think that's it, because I think it's, you're not getting anywhere with like zero emotional intimacy comes without vulnerability, but it's like scary because it's like, here we go. Like, here's my heart on a platter. What are you going to do with it? And then, but like, you got to do it. Right. That's where like the good stuff happens.
But when a woman goes, I think I need to go.
That was too soon. That was too quick.
Like, you're a mess.
Yeah.
He's not a mess. He's just being vulnerable. It was just a triggering moment.
Yeah. And that's like, what's so fascinating about your world is like, no experience is the same. Like, there's so many factors that like go into like all of this stuff, and like just like having to like relearn to navigate all this on my own. It was like, this is like my friends that are like, oh, it must be great. I'm like, stay in your relationship.
Not if you're not happy.
I know. I'm exaggerating, but yeah, I've definitely like had like, it's been like dating is for the most part, it's been like a tremendous experience, but you definitely have to, I think, be aware and be up to speed with some of the things that you're talking about. I think that having somebody like yourself to be as, an advocate of like, help me navigate these new waters. Like, I haven't gone swimming in a while. I've kind of forgot, like, you'd want like some help and a guide for that. So what, in addition to, you mentioned matchmaking, but like what goes into like, hey, Andrea, like I'm getting back into the dating scene. How can you help me? What does that look like?
So it's getting clear.
Okay.
So the first step is to gain real clarity on who you are, what you are looking for, because often you're like, yeah, I know what I want. But once we go deep diving into it, you're like, oh no, it's a little bit different than what I thought. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that you are really clear on what it is you are looking for in a relationship, not in her, in a relationship. What do you want to get out of a relationship? Also, what do you bring to the relationship? You need to know what you're bringing to her life. It can't just be about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem with dating apps is we look at them like, what can I get from them instead of what can I offer? If you go into a relationship with the mindset of what can I give, and she can come to the relationship with the mindset of what can I give, oh my God.
I mean, that's paradigm shifting, because I think most people go into it of like, what can I get?
Yes. So that's first step. You have to do that work. I don't even let my clients date during that process. You're not allowed to be on the apps. Besides, most of them come in and they've been on the apps. I want the algorithm to reset. So I want them off all the apps because fresh start, new algorithm. And sometimes we even switch up the apps.
Okay.
And then it's self-care. You need to make sure that you are in a good place. And a lot of men have lost their confidence around dating. So taking care of yourself, doing some really good self-care practices, working on your confidence and making sure that that's in line. Then you can date. And during that process, you need to know how to set really healthy boundaries. Being able to communicate those boundaries. Understanding that talking isn't communicating.
Andrea, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, in the process, I think that like as you're describing that, like I see in my own past where like I wasn't ready and I thought I was ready, and it's like I've like made the joke of like I've done the download and delete like a lot. So like I think that there's like I think there like that helps with like intention of like, okay, if you really want this, like we're going to do some work for you even allowed to like be on this. And I think the self-care, because coming back to like emotional health is, being in a place, it's crazy because it's like things didn't change for me until I faced the thing I didn't want to face, which is like, I need to spend some time on my own. Like I need to finish this work on myself before. So it was almost like I like to joke that like last year was like my eat, pray, love year for the most part, just like trying to shore up some of those parts of like, I'm close, but I'm not there, and I'm close and I'm not there. And it's like, the things will continue to show up until you address them healthily. So I really appreciate that's a part of the practice. And then I'm just so fascinated with boundaries. So anytime that comes up in conversation, I love to just hear more about like, let's talk about when you say like setting healthy boundaries. And I think that's unfortunately relatively new in our society. So,
I think a lot of people are confused.
Of course. I think there's a ton of confusion around it.
About what boundaries are. I get a lot of clients I had one recently tell me like, no, I don't want to set any boundaries with her because I don't want to like keep her at arm's distance. And that's not a boundary.
Yeah.
A boundary is more like a line in the sand. It's not a wall. It doesn't necessarily keep anyone out. And it's very easy to cross the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we let certain people cross it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens a lot of times is they cross it, and now it's lost. It's blended in with the rest of the sand. Where did my boundary go?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if you think of respect as a boundary, loyalty as a boundary, monogamy as a boundary, these are all boundaries.
I like how you define that because I think it's easy to understand like what's a boundary. Like I think there is a lot of confusion because it's not clearly defined.
Your values are your boundaries.
I've never heard it stated that way. That's great.
So whatever you value, you set a boundary around. You don't even realize that you do it. I want to be respected by people that I interact with.
Of course.
Business, personal, doesn't matter, right? It's a very important value for me. And so I set very healthy boundaries around it. And I communicate those boundaries. When I feel that someone's crossed it and stepped over my little circle in the sand,
right.
Now I have to communicate to them that, oh, you stepped over the line.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to say it like that. You don't want to sound like an idiot.
It sounded like a cartoon from like back in the day.
So that's why those two pieces have to go together. Boundaries and communication have to be explored at the same time in the same realm, because you can have boundaries. You can know what you want your boundaries to be, but if you can't communicate them, they're useless.
Yeah, I've heard a boundary is only as good as how much you can enforce it, for lack of a better term.
Right. And if you're enforcing your boundary with a communication style that's aggressive, then you're not actually communicating effectively where that boundary is.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that one of the things I've been trying to work on personally is when those tough conversations show up, it's impossible to communicate effectively when one or both of the people are not regulated. And so I'm trying to take my own personal responsibility of noticing that and being like, I need to just like get back to a regulated state, because I don't know how many times it's been like neither person's unregulated, and then it just becomes like that game of just like.
And how do you get back to a regulated state?
For me, it's I think when I'm able to recognize trying to communicate that, and it doesn't always come out great. It can, but it sometimes, most recently it showed up in a way where it's like, I'm not really feeling great about what was just said. I'm feeling a certain kind of way about it. I'd like, to calm down a little bit before re-engaging in this conversation. Because I think otherwise it's very easy to like get into, some kind of like bickering, or, we're now going to trade hurtful things, or say, we're going to be very petty, whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just like when I feel like I'm a very clear communicator. Like one of my friends was like, how do you like to argue? I'm like, I don't. Like, well, how do you like to solve conflict? I'm like this, imagine. Like my best friend in the whole entire world, like we have never raised our voices at each other, and we've had plenty of disagreements, Thankfully Google's like saved our friendship. Like a lot of the times we're like, no, it's this, like, let's just Google it. Like, oh, okay, we're pretty similar, both of us are right, so like advocating for Google. Yeah. Like any argument or disagreement. But yeah, I think it's just like, number one, knowing that dysregulation exists, because I think we all know it, but we're not like cognitive about it. So it's like, okay, like for me, it's like I start to feel like I can't think so clearly, like my blood pressure feels like it's rising, and it's just like I feel like in this frenzied state. And then it's either like if we can continue to engage, like nobody's gonna like how this goes, or I can just like withdraw, calm down, come back, without feeling like it's a personality flaw because I need to calm down.
Right. A lot of people go to one extreme or the other. It's the emotions that flood out and just everything comes out of their mouth.
Mm-hmm. Which I've done.
They should probably be the one to be like, I need
right.
a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Or they shut down because they don't know how to tap in fast enough. They don't know how to tap into the language that they need to express themselves. and they want to say the right thing, but they just can't find the words. And so then they end up getting railroaded by the other person because they're quiet. They've gone within to find it.
Yeah.
And the other person is just still barking at them.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, this is not how you solve conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And in a relationship, it's really key to remember that if a problem comes up, a challenge arises in the relationship, then it has to be you and me against the problem.
Love that.
You're not the problem. I'm not the problem. The
problem's the problem.
Yeah.
So here's another thing that I actually love as a boundary is I think that when you're in a committed relationship, I think it's highly imperative to put a boundary around the relationship. Like in conflict, divorce, breaking up is not a tactic. We're going to solve this together. So we can have a disagreement, but it's not going to be at the expense of like, I'm leaving to punish you, if that makes any sense.
Well, it's your
or I'm not
level
getting
of-
my way, so I'm leaving.
Yeah, it's your level of investment. How invested are you in the relationship? And how well can you communicate? If I'm going to break up with you every time we have an argument, then for one, I don't know how to communicate properly. So I need to learn how to communicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Communication style is so important to learn.
Yeah, you mentioned that before the break. So talk more about like just because we're talking doesn't mean we're communicating. I'd love to hear more about that. Yeah.
Exactly. If you want to have effective communication, then you need to be an assertive communicator. So some experts think there are 4 communication styles. Some think there are 6.
Okay.
Passive, aggressive, assertive. Those are your traditional 4.
Sure.
As of late, some experts believe that there's submissive and manipulative, and those should be separated out and be their own category of style.
Okay. I could see that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
There's only one that's effective. Assertive. Assertive communicating is saying, I feel. Not, you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that.
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to say how you are feeling and tapping into that. But that's very vulnerable. But it's very assertive at the same time. You also need to be a good listener. So communication isn't just about what you say. So the speaking part of that, right,
Mm-hmm.
is the assertive communication. Learn how to be an assertive communicator. But then there's 2 other elements. There's listening. You need to be an empathetic listener. And your body language. Your body language says so much that
Totally.
doesn't come out of your mouth.
Sure.
If you can be tuned into your body language and what it's saying, and even, I'm not saying become an expert in reading body language, but just be tapped in. You know, you see some couples where he's like, oh, my wife is across the room and she shifted to her left foot and that means she's ready to go home.
Yeah.
That's impressive,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a while to get to that point.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting because I think that, especially phrasing it, I'm feeling this way. You can't argue with how someone feels. That's just how they feel.
Right.
And it in a like black or white situation, it might be rational or irrational, but it's just how they feel.
Exactly.
And I think that knowing that helps to honor that instead of like, you make me feel, or
Yes.
you did this and I feel.
It's ownership.
Yeah.
You're taking ownership for your state, how you're feeling, your emotions. They are yours. You are choosing to react to a situation in a certain way. You have the choice. You know, if your significant other leaves the dishes in the sink, you have a choice in how you respond to that. You can either get pissed off,
Mm-hmm.
you can communicate that you need additional help and that you need to pull your weight, right? You're not going to say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you put the dishes in the dishwasher for your partner and you go, it's not a big deal. We have bigger fish to fry.
I think and I think that also, it's so interesting that you say that because I think about like my experience with something like that. It's like, where am I at emotionally? Am I looking for a reason to get upset? Because I just found one.
Right.
Or am I regulated and like, hey, they've had a long day, they just made dinner, like all the things of like, this is a big deal, you know?
There's a deeper rooted issue at play.
Yeah.
If you're getting pissed off because your partner isn't taking out this is mostly women that kind of do this. He's not taking out the trash. He's leaving his socks on the floor. He's not cleaning up after himself. There's something else going on with him. And that is a symptom.
Yeah.
So get to the root of what's going on. Is he feeling a little bit depressed? Is there something that's going, you guys aren't super quick to share emotions.
No.
You don't just sit down and go, God, babe, I had the hardest day at work today. It was so rough. I just felt so degraded by my boss.
No, it's true. And I think it's hard because and I think for men, like in the simplest terms, like there's certain ways we're allowed to be. We can be playful. We can be aggressive. Like we can be angry. But like there's certain things that's like, I can't be sad, and that's where it like comes back to like the emotional health with this whole thing of like, that feels so much better what you just described than me being like, I don't want to tell my partner that I feel degraded by my boss because now I feel like less of a man, that he made me feel that way. When the reality is that's not reality. It's just my experience and how I feel, and being able to share that in the safety of a partnership. That's so much harder to communicate than just like, I had a bad day at work. I just want to be by myself right now.
And that's absolutely what happens.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I've done that,
Yeah.
And like, that's where I've also like looking back in some of my past relationships, it's like so easy to point the finger and be like, you know what? Like I've needed to do a lot of growth on my end, that it feels so healthy to release that. And like, that's how the partnership grows, when you're able to like communicate that vulnerable thing of like, yeah, like it doesn't feel good that this person made me feel this way.
Right.
And it does make me feel less than, or blah, 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 blah.
And for your partner to support that.
Totally.
And for her not to look at you and say, well, be a man, just tough it out.
Yeah, that's so insensitive. Like that is such an adverse effect.
Right.
The other thing too that I think it helps with is I think it creates the safety for her to know that if I'm not communicating that, I think it can be very easy to say, well, like, I did something wrong. He's mad at me.
Right.
What are you not telling me? That
it's
kind of thing.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
I'm not keeping him happy. I'm not satisfying him in whatever way it may be.
And that can go both ways. And I think that's where, the codependent loop starts. Without, when communication's I think everything just comes back to communication.
It really does.
My number is like 90% of things come back to communication. I don't know if that's reality, but like that's what it feels like.
I agree. Absolutely. In all aspects of life, communicating with significant others, communicating with your boss, your sex life. You want your sex life to flourish, you better communicate.
Yeah.
You better learn how to communicate your needs and wants when it comes to your sex life with your partner, because if you can't talk about it, then a lot of relationships break up because of sex.
Yeah.
Lack of it or not meeting their needs. And then you have a partner who ends up cheating and it just spirals.
Yeah, I think that or it's just very robotic. It's just, very mechanical. It's like you had mentioned before that a like very strong desire for people is to have romantic intimacy. And I'm just sitting here like, yeah, duh. But you're like, no, you don't understand. Like that is something that is craved because it's not happening. And it's just like, yeah, it's
a sexual fantasy.
That's crazy.
That's
You'd think it would
insane.
be the norm.
Right.
I mean, that's what Hollywood tells us anyway.
Ugh, don't get me started on Hollywood. But yeah, when romantic sex is one of the top 10 sexual fantasies.
That's crazy.
That's a problem.
Yeah, if we were on Family Feud, I would have lost.
You lost.
Yeah.
Everybody would have.
Yeah.
Nobody would have believed it.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I think that, like coming back to the communication piece, and I think that's so vital with like what you offer as a service, because if you want a different result, you need to do something different.
Yes.
So like we've talked about, okay, like let's go back to that scenario. Like, okay, I'm ready for the apps. Now what are we doing?
Well, now we have to create a profile.
Okay.
And your profile.
I love this. This is my favorite. This is my favorite.
Your profile has to be spot on. It has to be. Especially if you're a male. Because the difference is that, and we said this, while you're swiping right on everyone, which you shouldn't be doing because the algorithm will bump you down because of it. But
which is like funny because like, again, guys, we think we're so smart. It's just like, I'm just going to right on everybody.
Right.
And then eventually I'll get a match and then I can go. But like
right.
the algorithm, as you've shared with me in the past,
doesn't work
will
like
penalize
that.
you.
Yes. The algorithm is tracking your behavior, your swiping behavior, and it's ranking you as far as, you know, if you swipe right on someone, do they swipe right on you? So if you swipe right on 10 people and only 2 of them swipe right on you, then your desirability rating goes to like a 20%.
Which, as consumers, we know nothing about. We just think.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're getting on the app. Your pictures need to be spot on.
When you say spot on, we're talking about recent within how much of a time frame?
It needs to look like you.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't age all that much. You know, somebody could have a picture from 5 years ago and it still looks like
them. But I
mean,
like but I think there's definitely been times where like, you know, you match, then you get the Instagram and you're like, you posted a 2019 photo? That doesn't feel great.
2019?
Within reason.
It's 2020.
It was 3 years ago.
2 of those years was a pandemic. What were you doing? Selfies in the bathroom? Oof, don't do that. That's a hard no. Selfies in the bathroom, stop it, especially public bathrooms.
You know what's awesome? You know what really like gets me excited about a photo is a toilet in the photo. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, love it.
Gross.
So sexy.
Yeah.
What woman doesn't want to have sex with that?
I mean, women do it too.
They do, and women need to stop with all like the app, like the doe eyes,
the
and
filters.
The filters. Thank you. Yes.
No,
like,
yeah.
Come on, ladies, stop doing that.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think, and that's the other thing too about like that part of the experience is it's like you don't need it. You look good. What are we doing here?
Right.
Yeah.
But for men, a lot of times,
so we want recent photos.
You need recent photos. You need photos of you, not from behind.
Mm-hmm. Not with other dudes.
Right, and no. Women don't want to see that, yes, that was a beautiful sunset. That's fabulous, but you're not even in the photo.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I like, unless like you're like, I love photography. I'm like, I don't need to look at this meadow. You just wasted a picture. I only get 6. One of them's now wasted.
You don't need your dog. If it's you and your dog, that's fine.
Thank you. Fair.
But just your dog?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's not you. I'm not dating your dog. And I'm not dating you for your dog. And you don't want her to date you for your dog. Leave your car out of the picture. Leave your house out of the picture. Stop trying to impress her with the things you have because that's how you're going to attract a gold digger.
Yeah.
And then you're going to complain. Then you can come to me and complain and say, "Hi, Andrea, I'm not attracting the right the right types of women. What's going on?" Well, look at your pictures and look at what your bio is saying. Stop using emojis as if they're words. They're not words. They don't make sentences. You don't get to tell her.
You don't get to communicate in hieroglyphics?
No. And stop laundry listing all of your interests and hobbies and the things that you're looking for. This is not a menu. Don't treat it like that. Share a little something about yourself. Create a little story about you. Who you are. What you have to offer. Not what you're looking for.
Intrigue.
And stay positive.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of what you do is like getting into the nuance. Don't have adventure in your profile.
Yes.
Things like that. So like what are the 1 or 2 things that someone could do to like improve their profile like right away? We want recent pictures.
Look through your pictures.
Okay.
Don't have group photos if you can avoid it. It's not necessary. She doesn't need to know that you're social. She's going to kind of assume that you're somewhat social, but what happens when you have friends in the picture, she might be more attracted to your friend.
I've definitely been on profiles where I'm like, I don't know who this person is.
That too. Which one are you? Take the sunglasses off, take the hat off occasionally.
I will have, oh yeah, that is another thing that you shared, like too many sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can't see your eyes, I'm not going on a date with you. I don't care how great your profile is. If I don't ever get to see your eyes, I don't want to meet you in person. You are shady.
Okay, what's
Sorry.
another tip? No, that's fair. Like, yeah, it could, because there's so many things that like, and just having known you, like it's increased, like sometimes like my patience is like definitely waned. Like sometimes people will, I don't know, maybe this is just me just experiencing app fatigue, but like sometimes it's like, I put work into my profile, you have 2 pictures and your prompts are like NA, not applicable. I'm just like, I feel that feels disrespectful to me. Like, come back when you're more serious. Because I'm not playing games.
Right. So yes, if there's a space for a bio, write a bio.
Yeah.
Even if it's only a sentence long, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
When you leave it empty, you're saying, I have nothing important to say.
Or I don't care enough about
Right.
this.
So
process.
then she's going to assume, well, he's hot, but he doesn't say anything, so he's probably a fuckboy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a negative dating experience with somebody that, like, in hindsight, it was like all pictures. And I'm like, oh, like, we'll go on dates and I'll get to know her. And it's like, looking back, it's like, yeah, that was a red flag. Like, that's the behavior that yielded itself should have been no surprise.
Right.
And then also learning that they're an avoidant. I didn't know what an avoidants were. You just like learn. You learn, fellas. Like, that's why, the whole experience, like, that's why it's called a dating experience,
Well,
right?
that's probably why she didn't write anything.
I mean,
An avoidant won't really write anything. They'll be more prone to write nothing and minimal pictures, where an anxious attachment style on an app will write too much. They'll overshare.
okay. I'm glad you brought that up. What's the right amount of balance of, again, like, we want to be authentic, because I think sometimes we strove for authenticity, but we came off trying a little too hard. Like,
On an app, you mean?
yeah,
like in your
'cause,
bio?
yeah, like I try to like find that balance of like more mystery, less history, but not like so mysterious that it's just like we don't know what we're getting here.
Exactly. So a few sentences, doesn't need to be a paragraph. You don't need to give your entire life history on a silver platter. You want to create enough intrigue to where she asks questions about you. She asks questions to get to know you.
Okay. You just reminded me of something. 2 things. Here's one thing. Let me know your opinion. I'll save how I feel. When in their profile, it shares something along the lines of, I don't or know of this.
Negative.
Yeah. That shares, like, that tells me like this person like is bringing some unresolved experience into this experience, and I don't want to touch it.
Right.
Like, no cheaters, no liars. It's like, yeah, like, I want a good guy. Like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do here. Like, no bad guys, no jerks. It's like, okay, yeah.
Cheaters need not apply.
Yeah, like, it's like be intentional about what you want. Like, why would you like ask, like, put something into the world or universe, the dating app, of what you don't want? That's the first thing. The second thing, and we've talked about this before, is there's so much positive here. Like the person that goes for poking at something.
Wait, what?
Like the term, which we've talked about it, that was like popularized, the negging term. And we know how that affects women, but then I said, like, women do it too, and it doesn't feel great. And it's like, why would you want to start off a relationship by trying to like pick at your partner or diminish it? And I know it's the intent, again, it calls back to intent, is trying to be playful, but
and flirtatious, and I don't want to like name names, but at one point there was a book that came out.
Yeah, the pickup artist. Yeah, that was
super popular.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
And it was based off of negging.
Yeah.
And so we learned.
Can you explain to people that don't know what that is?
Negging?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Negging is a backhanded compliment. When you tell a woman, my goodness, you are so beautiful. Why are you still single?
Yeah.
Holy hell, that's not a compliment.
Yeah.
You are so beautiful. Period. Stop talking. Don't then ask, why are you still single?
But that tactic is done intentionally to elicit.
Yes.
Yeah.
It elicits a very real emotional response from her. And the idea behind negging was that
now she's got to prove to me how worthy she is. Like, I've changed the power shift into dynamic.
Right.
It's like a mind game, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, I have her attention.
Yeah.
She may be pissed at me, but I have her full attention.
Which is better than no attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. And so while that was the style of flirting for a long time, now we want people to start learning how to flirt with intention, flirt with honor.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
I think
Compassion.
I think there's a way to be playful that builds the person up versus chipping away at them.
Course.
And it's like, that could work, but like, again, like, what's our intent? Like, why are we here? Mm-hmm. That's a pickup artist tactic.
Right.
Pickup artists are trying to.
Pickup artists pull all the stops.
Yeah.
I mean, sky's the limit. There's nothing is off limits for them as far as what they do. And, you know, I'm grateful. I know a lot of people, especially men, have read the book, The Game, and they use it as a how-to guide. And luckily, Neil Strauss came up with a second book to that, which I'm very grateful that he did that, because it kind of negates everything from The Game.
Right.
And a lot of the problems that he has endured in his own personal relationship because of the whole pickup artist mentality,
Right.
and what's happened with him. And so I think that it's really important to acknowledge the fact that while you go after women and you're negging them and you're doing all these games and all these tricks,
Yeah.
and will it get you laid? Sure. But are you attracting the partner that you are looking for, that you truly want? Probably not.
No, not at all. It's going to be the same cycle after cycle after cycle. It's just going to be the same thing over. It's just going to look a little different.
Right. And that high value woman isn't going to tolerate that type of behavior.
Sure.
She's not going to allow you to neg her.
Yeah.
By any means.
Right. Or play games or, you know.
She values her time.
Yeah. As she should. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the emotional energy. She's not going to invest in something that's not.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've accomplished quite a bit. I think that, like, without giving away all of your trade secrets, but
right, I just coached everyone.
Well, no,
in
but
an hour.
I think that's why it's so important, is because, like, learning about the process. I think it was so important to invite you on as a guest, because I think it's like, how can we get help, or how can we know an area of our life? Because, like, being in a healthy, loving relationship, like, is pinnacle peak something you could have in your life. It's such a cherished thing. But I think that sometimes it's like you said, like, you can run into burnout, fatigue, you can start to feel like you're the problem. And it's just like, the reality is, like, you don't know enough about everything that goes into it. Maybe you've been out of it, maybe it's not your thing, or maybe you have confidence issues, all the things. And it's like, that's why working with somebody that understands it can be your extra set of eyes to, hey, you know what, like, I feel better about this experience because I have support.
Absolutely.
And your therapist isn't going to and your therapist is going to tell you how to go date. You know, they're going to be like, they'll help you with behaviors and they'll help you work on yourself, but they're going to be like, hey, what should I tell her? Or what should I, blah, blah, or she did this, you know, it's like,
they don't know.
So, I think having someone in your corner. Okay. So what is the best way to get connected with you? Let's start with your socials. And then if somebody wants to work with you, is it like a consultative process? Can you do stuff for people that are outside of the area? How does that work?
Okay, so socials.
Yep.
Date Smarter.
You have your own podcast.
I have my own podcast, Date Smarter, Sexier. I have a book coming out, so you can read that It releases in July. Get the Girl, Dating the High Value Woman.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And this is season 2 of the podcast?
Season 2 of the podcast, all about sex. It's so much fun. So much fun. We got really raw with these conversations and very vulnerable ourselves.
Well, and I think that's the thing of that I appreciate about your attitude is nothing's off limits, nothing's off topic, and that helps safety. Like we're building safety. Like it's like, how can I know if this is I can internalize something that is totally normal, but I can feel abnormal because like I don't want to talk. Like if people knew what I like or what I'm into, like, you know, all the shame and guilt that comes with whatever past, you know,
right.
we've got. So be able to like talk about it in a safe place, I think is incredibly healthy. Okay. So we have the podcast, you have the book. Okay. I think I need some help. How can I reach out to you? How can we start working together? What does that look like?
It's simple. First, we do a consultation to see
Okay.
where
How do I
you're
reach
at.
out to you?
My website,
Okay.
Date Smarter, Sexier.
Cool.
And then, or social media.
Yeah.
I respond to everything.
Yeah.
But we have to first find out where you are. And so many times men will come in with this, I don't know if I'm actually ready. That's perfect. I'm glad you're not ready, because that is the whole first part of the program, is getting you ready. And sometimes we have to heal some old trauma.
Great.
With dating. And
Yeah.
it's not like what therapy does, because the difference with me is, for one, I'm a coach, I'm not a therapist. So I get to tell you when you're being stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad about that.
Right.
So I have a very direct approach, compassionate and gentle, but
Yeah.
very direct and very honest. And I call it your dating toolkit, right? It's your little toolkit for you to learn, and you take it on your dates, and you'll take it into every relationship going forward, of starting from the second you match with someone or you meet them, because, you know, sometimes people meet in real life.
What?
I
Stop.
know. It's the weirdest thing.
This is incredible.
I get it. All the way into, you know, years into the relationship, how to maintain that relationship. And so when you're done working with me, I want to make sure you're walking away with skills,
Right.
tangible skills, for you to be a very successful dater and to be able to get into a relationship successfully. That's the ultimate goal, is for you to feel confident in your ability to put yourself out there and to find the right partner. It sounds simple, but it's...
But if anyone could do it, they would be doing it. And if it were so easy and so simple, you know, you being able to help in such a way would not exist.
Right.
So, and I think it's so great to just be in that place of like, I can't think of anything more vulnerable than this part of a person's life, and trying to like be in that place of like, you know, because everybody's got their world of people that, you know, dating just comes easy and natural and they can't wrap their head around it. Or you can start to develop a complex around whatever that looks like, even if you were good at it in the past and now you're not. So I highly encourage anybody that is interested in improving this area of their life to reach out to Andrea. She creates an incredibly safe space. She's very knowledgeable at what she does, and it's the passion and the level of care that you have, I think, that is, you know, separates you from other people that might be doing it, because I think it's very easy to prey on someone's insecurities and vulnerabilities, and you don't do that. So yeah, it's a complete opposite experience. So thank you so much for joining us. I was thrilled to have you here. Thank you for coming to my podcast with, just not even going to bring up the joke.
Go for it.
Yeah. But when I reached out to her, she's like, sure, I'll do it for you and your 5 subscribers. So I'm like, okay, you know. So
here I am for you and your 5 subscribers.
Guys, all 5 of you, reach out to Andrea and anybody else. Like, she's living proof that the cause that you're passionate about, you can help other people. You can do it for a living. So if that resonated with somebody as well, but regardless, if this is something that helped encourage you in any way, please let us know. Tell a friend. We're so excited that you're here, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Spend the rest of time with you. making me manic. The way you been on me, you're making me panic. The way you been on me, don't make it a habit. A creature of passion and addiction. Give me a job, I give her the business. See what she saw, be quiet regardless. Keep leading me on, cause your body is flawless, girl. She be calling up, I be hanging up. She be ballin', I do it to make her nuts. Yeah, she love me, but baby, it ain't enough. I keep fucking the friends just to shake it up. Find a better man, leave me jettison. Dating the devil's a hell of a medicine. She like never that, I can never leave. It's confusing, but here's what she said to me.
All I ever wanna do is spend the rest of time with you. It takes a special kind of fool to spend the rest of time with you. All I ever wanna do is spend the rest of time with you. It takes a special kind of fool to spend the rest of time with you.
Girl, I'm too good, something you shouldn't want. You didn't listen, now you're slipping and caught. I'm stuck in my old ways, which you cannot stop. Hugs in the hallway and feel your heart drop. I open the door for you, run to the store for you, make some good grub for you. Chivalry's overdue, working so hard for you, writing a song for you, making good love to you. I'm coming through, I'm the nicest of nice. Cover the sun, have the nicest of nights. Shopping mall runs, no matter the price. We'll always have fun, ignoring the fights. You'll always be right, I'll always be wrong. Keeping it light, never headstrong. You'll be alright, you just need to move on. Turn on that mic and hear you sing along like